Hello, welcome to my channel Nomad's Land Studios. My name is Rebecca, and today I will be reading for you an original story from the r/nosleep subreddit entitled Emergency Broadcast by the author E.G. Writings. Do not look into a mirror. Lock your doors. Cover your windows. Do not look into a mirror. Block all doors. Go to a windowless room. Do not look into a mirror. The ringing and the chanting was deafening. It was like every television and radio on the block had turned on to maximum all at once. It woke Jenny and I up, which made me immediately grab the handgun from the nightstand drawer on the side of my bed. I was about to open the door that connected our bedroom to our living room where the TV was blaring the broadcast when Jenny hushed me and made me listen. The ringing came again, and the broadcast repeated. I leaned forward and locked the bedroom door, beckoning Jenny to follow me into the master closet. Locking that door as well, I slid the safe in front of it, trying to block us in as the instructions had said. We waited, hearing the broadcast ring out again, before finally leaving us in the thickest silence I had ever heard. Noises of different families running around in the apartments around us were the only things that broke the noiseless void in the black of the closet. Just as we breathed a sigh of relief, the broadcast started again, ringing once again across the block, echoing from the streets, this time sounding gritty and distorted. The sudden noise caused Jenny to jump, which caused me to clutch the gun tighter. This is an emergency alert system broadcast. It is now safe to come out of hiding. The threat has passed. Unlock your doors. Open your windows. Look into your mirrors. Look into your mirrors. Look into your... This broadcast abruptly ended. No siren, no alarm sound, nothing to alert us if there was any more to be said. Jenny and I sat up for a long time in silence, listening to the noises around us, hearing nothing but our own breath and the blood thumping in our ears. Just as I was about to turn to Jenny and tell her, I think we're okay, the screaming started. At first, it was distant. A few children here and there crying, as if the fear had overcome them and they had cracked under the pressure. Then a woman. It sounded like it was coming from outside of our apartment, echoing off the city streets. After that scream died, we heard a loud thump above us, as if someone was pounding a door down, followed by a much closer scream. I could hear the man who lived above us say something, the wife sobbing, and then another loud thump, followed by more screaming, and then another round of eerie silence, before the original broadcast alarm siren came on again. This is an emergency alert system broadcast. The test is now concluded. Thank you for your patience. Jenny and I exchanged nervous glances in the dark. This time there had been no distortion, no cutoff, no reason to believe it was anything other than what it said it was. In fact, after the broadcast ended, we could hear the soft noise of the Office reruns we had watched before bed. Comforted by this, I moved to pull the safe away from the door when Jenny stopped me, staring into my eyes before shaking her head softly no and pointing down to the bottom of the door frame where I could see the faint glow of some light from outside the room. I swallowed hard, desperately trying to remember whether we had left a light on in our haste to get into the closet, only to realize that we hadn't turned on any lights before entering the closet. What was possibly more disturbing was the movement I saw in the shadows of the light moving into the middle of the doorway, before freezing and remaining unmoving while we held our breath. I could feel Jenny's hand softly touch my shoulder for comfort, as we stared hard at the closet door and the shadow standing in front of it. As I felt her press into my back, there was a loud crash, followed by a car alarm. At the noise, I saw the shadow disappear from the bottom of our door, darting away from it towards our bedroom door and the rest of our apartment. I let out a small sigh of relief as I turned to look at my wife, kissing her gently and whispering that I thought it would be best if we slept inside the closet tonight. Nodding softly, she agreed as she slumped back against one of the closet walls, reaching to her side and grabbing one of the blankets that we kept for when we had guests staying on our couch. Sitting down next to her, I wrapped one arm around her and kept my other arm by my side, my hand firmly grasping the handgun. I couldn't be sure when we fell asleep. All I could be sure of is the sound of our alarms ringing outside the bedroom and light from our bedroom window shining through the bottom of the door. Rising, I kissed the top of Jenny's head and slowly moved to the safe, opening the door and peeking out into the brightness of the morning. The office was still playing in the living room television, and the front door to our apartment had been left wide open. As I walked through the living room, I noticed that the mirror, which had once faced the opening to our kitchen, was flipped. I closed and locked the door as I peeked my head into the guest restroom, only to find that the mirror above the sink was shattered. I turned, hearing Jenny call out to me that the mirror in our bathroom had also been broken, and that I should come over to her. I walked slowly, surveying the rest of the apartment for any more damage, before entering the bathroom and seeing what she had called me for. Not only had the mirror above our sink been broken, but also the small vanity mirror she had for doing her makeup, as well as the handheld mirror she sometimes used. Though the most striking thing about the room was the small pile of tiny glass chunks that ranged from fingernail size to dime that had been piled up in the sink. I remarked how odd it was, telling her to put shoes on and help me start cleaning up the glass shards when there was a knock at the door. I carefully approached it, only to see the neighbor from across the hallway, Rashad, standing outside through the peephole. I opened our door and chatted briefly with him about the broadcast yesterday and the mirrors in our apartments being broken. I was about to tell him that I had to go help clean up when he asked me if I had heard all the noise from upstairs. Solemnly, I explained what I had heard the previous night and reluctantly agreed with him that we needed to go check on the family that lived there. I walked out of the house with him, meeting up with his roommate at the stairs, who was ready to ascend with us and see what could have happened. The first thing we noticed was that the hallway looked remarkably normal, with nothing thrown around and no doors open. As we approached the door, we were struck by an odd sound from behind it. One of the children was laughing. It caused us to pause and share an uncertain glance before Rashad knocked on the door softly. The father of the family opened it after a few seconds. Rashad called him Roger and went to shake his hand, only to laugh awkwardly as Roger stuck out his left hand and Rashad stuck out his right. We all talked briefly of everything that had happened the previous night, before asking Roger if everything had been all right for their family. He covered his mouth, stroking his mustache as he said everything had been fine apart from the children being scared, and the abrupt noises scaring his wife. We inquired more about the things that happened in his apartment when he mentioned that none of his glass had been shattered. He began hypothesizing about what the cause could be, whether it could be something government, or maybe just robbers seeing an opportunity among the panic, when his youngest daughter came running up to him, calling, "Daddy! Daddy!" and grabbing his leg. No one seemed to pay her any mind, but I couldn't help but notice her staring up at me, at first concerned, then blankly, then flashing me a bright grin. We said our goodbyes and I hurried down the stairs, getting inside and grabbing my wife by the shoulders, telling her to pack her things and that we would be staying with her parents for a while. She attempted to protest, but I urged her to focus on packing and getting everything we would need. Confused, she complied, and did so in silence, until we were in the car and had driven for a bit. When she finally asked me why we were speeding off like we had done something wrong, I asked her if she had cleaned out the sink in our restroom. She said she had and didn't know what that had to do with anything. Her expression grew even more perplexed when I asked her, had there been 64 pieces? Exasperated, she said she didn't count the damn pieces and demanded to know what the hell I was talking about. "Teeth," I whispered. "Those were going to be the teeth." She sat back in silence as she saw how grim my face had gotten. I knew the exact look I had on, as it was the same that had stared back at me from that little girl's smile, not 3 feet away from me. We didn't say a word the rest of the drive to her parents. Once we got there, we explained that something bad had happened, called our landlord, and ended our lease, telling the apartment complex that they could have everything that had been in our apartment, and that we were never coming back. Again, I would like to give a very special thank you to the author of this story, Reddit user EG Writings. Thank you so much for graciously giving me permission to read and share your story. I will be putting a link for the author's original post on Reddit in the video description down below. I do urge you to please follow that link and go give the author an upvote and leave them a comment to let them know how much you enjoyed their story. If you enjoyed my video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. I post every week on Tuesdays and Fridays. Thank you, and I will see you next time. Bye!